I have told this badly before. I have told it too carefully, measured each word as though the wrong one would crack something I have not yet finished reassembling. I will try once more. My name is Verath Onsale. I was queen of the Calorie Reach for 11 years. I have not been queen of anything for 4 years, and some number of days I stopped counting when counting stopped helping. The station is called On7 on the relay charts. My family named it after our bloodline 6 generations ago, when the reach was expanding, and a queen's name on a border post still meant something. Now it is the outermost listening post in Calorie space, a round-shouldered old structure bolted to a dead asteroid, its receiver array older than my mother's reign, its interior barely large enough for the equipment and a narrow sleeping shelf, and one viewport pointed at the dark. I came here 4 years ago, because I had nowhere else I wanted to be. The transit hub at Veth Crossing collapsed on the 17th day of the 3rd season. Sauron was on the platform. I was on the diplomatic channel 6 hours away when the alert came through. By the time I rerouted, the recovery teams had already run their count. His name was not on the survivor list. His name was not on the recovered list either. The intake records from the collapse were fragmentary. The pressure rupture had destroyed the biometric logging system, and the Reach's protocol office marked everyone unaccounted for as lost. I waited 4 months for them to revise the list. They did not revise it. The succession protocol in the Calorie Codex is clear. A reigning queen without a registered consort partner enters provisional governance for 18 months. After that, the position dissolves and a regency council convenes. My court sent me the formal notice during the 3rd month at On7. I did not reply. They sent a second. I did not reply to that one either. I was not ready to go home and call it final, so I stayed. The station has one piece of original equipment, a physical maintenance log. Paper, actual paper, fabricated cellulose, manufactured by a company that went out of business 40 years ago. The original builders specified a hard copy log for the outer relay posts in case of power failure, and no one had replaced it because no one came out here often enough to care. Thick pages, a metal spine, the kind of book a person has to press flat with one hand to write in. I used it. I recorded what I did each day, equipment checks, receiver calibrations, the small maintenance tasks that kept the station functional. Writing helped me feel like I was still a person who did things rather than a person things had been done to. I did not read the earlier entries. I started at the back and worked forward, and I did not look at what was already there because what was already there was not mine. I found his handwriting on a morning in the 2nd year of my exile. I had run out of blank pages and flipped back toward the front to judge how many remained, and the handwriting was not mine. Small, slanted to the right, abbreviated the notations of a technician who has a great many stations to log and not much time at each one. The pen pressure was heavy, someone who had learned to write in cold or in gloves. Relay 7 serviced, coil replaced, SM. I sat very still. The date was 3 years and 1 month before I arrived. I turned the page, array housing resealed, minor corrosion on the east bracket. SM the page after, power coupling checked, battery cell replaced per standard cycle, staying 1 extra day crosswind delay on the approach corridor. SM had been servicing On7 on a rotating schedule for 3 years before I got there, and continued for 3 years after. The intervals varied, but they were consistent. Thorough. The kind of service record a technician keeps when they care whether the equipment works, not when they're simply meeting a quota. He had waited an extra day at a post on a dead asteroid because the approach corridor was rough, and he had decided it wasn't worth the risk to his vessel. On at least 6 separate occasions, he had been within short-range hail of this station. I am not a person who cries easily. My species does not produce tears the way humans do. We have a membrane response, a flooding of the inner eye that blurs vision, and in extreme cases the eye surface becomes briefly reflective. I have not lost that control since I was 8 years old. I lost it that morning. I sat on the floor with the log pressed flat on my knees and did not move until my vision cleared. Then I opened the log to SM's most recent entry. It was dated 11 weeks ago. Receiver housing resealed again. Previous work holding, calling this one good. SM. 11 weeks ago, he had been in this room. I went to the relay panel and pulled up the outer routing chart. There were 14 stations on the circuit. A technician on a standard service run would reach ON12 in approximately 3 weeks from this position, or already be there if he had pushed the schedule. I keyed open the relay line to ON12. The connection tone ran for a long time, then the line opened. He said, "ON12 relay, this is the servicing technician. Go ahead." His voice was the same, quieter, slower, the voice of someone who has spent a great deal of time in their own company and no longer feels the need to fill silence. I said, "This is ON7. A particular kind of pause, not confusion, not the pause of someone placing a voice, but the pause of someone who has already placed it and is waiting for the rest of themselves to catch up to the fact." He said, "Verath." Not the title, my name, the way he used it when we were not in the presence of anyone who required formality. I said, "You were on ON7 11 weeks ago." "Yes." "You were there for 3 years before that, on the rotation circuit." "I didn't know it was occupied. The station wasn't listed as active." "I know," I steadied myself. "The Codex dissolved my position 8 months ago. There is no queen to go home as." "I know what the Codex says. Patience. Not argument, the patience of someone who has been composing the answer to this specific question across a very long silence. I'm asking what you want to do." I looked at the log open on the console beside me, his handwriting in the column of dates. The coil replaced, the bracket checked, the extra day waited out because the approach was rough, and he had decided the equipment was worth more than his hurry. 6 visits, 6 times within hailing distance, each of us listening at a different frequency. I said, "Come to ON7 first." A pause shorter than the others. "I can be there in 4 days." "I'll be here," I said. I closed the relay line. I went to the viewport and looked at the dark outside it, which had looked the same for 4 years and now looked completely different. The way a room you have been standing in alone looks different the moment you understand someone has been knocking at the door, and you simply could not hear each other through the wall. I put on the kettle. I found the 2 cups that matched, which I had not bothered to find since I arrived, and set them on the equipment shelf beside the log. He came in 4 days, as he said. He knocked, which was unnecessary, the outer lock was unsealed, and then came in anyway when I did not answer immediately, because he had always understood that I sometimes needed a moment before I was ready to be seen. I was ready. Stars behind him through the open hatch. He had not shaved in some time. His hands, when he set down his kit, showed the wear of years on relay circuits, knuckles roughed, palms calloused. He looked like someone who had been working his way back from a very long distance and had not let himself think about what he'd find when he got there. I said, "You waited an extra day once, for the crosswind." He said, "The approach was rough. You could have pushed through." "The equipment," he said quietly, "was worth more than the hurry." I nodded once. My eyes were doing the membrane thing again. I did not try to stop them. We did not go home for 3 more days. There was a great deal of talking to do first, and some of it was very quiet, and none of it needed to be translated. When we finally filed the relay request with the Regency Council, it was not a queen's return they logged but a citizen's, and the council found in their review that a great many provisions of the Codex's dissolution clause could be interpreted differently than they had previously assumed. I did not care very much what they called it. He was there, the station had been serviced, everything else could wait.